From 2015 until now, that is what, we are 9 years, I moved ahead of Russia, Italy, Brazil, France, UK, from number 10 to number 5 in size of my GDP. I'm knocking at Germany. By the end of this year or early next year, I become number 4. And before the pandemic, I was the fastest growing large economy on the planet. And after the pandemic, I am the fastest growing large economy on the planet. This story, ladies and gentlemen, has just begun. And let me tell you another interesting thing, and Stanley, you would like this one. 2/3 of my GDP is driven by domestic demand. That is what India's growth model is. Demand is ahead of supply, and market forces are the ones which are driving it. Every minute, 30 people are moving from a village to a city in India. Every minute. In the next 10 years, I will create a new United States of America. I need to give them housing, I need to give them infrastructure, I need to give them education, I need to give them water, I need to give them everything. This is the opportunity which I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, just 9,000 days from today, I'll turn 100. 15th August, 2047. I'm an ancient civilization, but I'm one of the youngest democracies on the planet. We often forget that. And on that day, 21% of the world's workforce will be in India. 20% of the world's middle class will be in India. This is the new India. Just to let you know, in a previous lifetime, I was a banker. And I must tell you, Zareen, that some of the best people we got in our bank was from yours. Now you would want to know where my bank was Citigroup, even though we said that we were the best. But that was many lifetimes ago. Thank you, and it was a pleasure hearing Mr. Bansal. I think that was great. Let me first tell you what I do so you'll have an idea where I'm coming in from. We were created in 2015 by the government. We are Invest India, the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency of the government. I have 4 verticals. The first one is investment promotion and facilitation. I'm the single point of contact for any investor coming into India. We give them a dedicated relationship manager. We help them with all the approvals, their business plan. And even after they set up the business, we are there to take care of it for them and walk the journey with them. Just to put in a small ad on that one, we are just about, 8 years old, and we've been ranked by the UN and the World Bank as the world's #1 investment promotion agency. That's just to let you know how fast India is changing. The second part, Startup India. We are the execution arm for Startup India. It's a fascinating story, and I'll mention a little of it as we speak about. From the first day when it was launched to getting even a definition of what a startup was, that's where the team worked, and we made that happen. The third is the Prime Minister's Science and Technology Initiative, where all innovation happening outside, we're trying to bring it into the government, be the armed forces or otherwise in agriculture. And all innovation in the system, we are trying to see how fast we can take it into commercialization. And the fourth part is very interesting. It's the digitization of a large part of the government's process, which includes the Prime Minister's dashboard where he monitors the economy and big projects, to also digitizing the entire investor journey, and I'll touch a little on that. In addition to that, the team also works on some of the other interesting initiatives. For example, making India a tourism destination, making India a wellness destination. More interestingly, which came up just now recently as a project, is making India a film content destination. And the entire Northeast states, to see the development of that, we have a special team. To see Jammu and Kashmir as a special team. By the way, my team is about today 454. We started with 3. Average age of the team, if you keep me out of it, is 29. It rises stupendously if you add me to it. But each one is IIT, IIM, Ivy League. They're all banking, finance, investment banking. They've come back globally. Each one in that team has taken a pay cut from 7 to 93% to build a new India. Now with that, let me just step back and share with you what I'm seeing. You've heard a lot about the huge digitization change which is happening in India, and to my mind, that's one of the biggest things which for the first time in our history has created that sense of democratization in India. And that's for all of you who are with us in this hall and outside. Let me start with a sentence. This is the most unprecedented transformation in human history of the free world. The most unprecedented transformation in the history of the free world is what India is going through today. And I know it's a strong statement, and I'll back it up with a few numbers and where my thought is coming from. And I say that both in terms of the scale at which this change is happening and the pace at which this change is happening. But before I come to that, let me tell you why this is happening. I believe in that circle of life, you know, that Lion King, Elton John song. I think that's one of my favorite ones. And I think that is our time, our circle of life has come in. And I'm not even taking you back to 1750, when a quarter of the world's GDP was from India. What is happening in India today? And guys, just step back. Forget your prejudices for a minute. Just think of it as what is happening as an experiment in human history. For the first time in my history of 5,000 years, all my three pillars of change, which is of every society and any society, social, economic, and political, are going through a rapid transformation all at the same point of time, creating that singularity of that transformation and disruption. Let me start with it. And since I told you I work on the set of investors, let me start with you on my numbers of FDI. The total FDI I've received in my history from 1947 has been about 950 odd billion dollars. 532 of them has come in the past 90 months. 532. Let me tell you more. It's come from 162 countries. It's a global record. Remember, FDI is not just about that dollar coming in. FDI is about trust. FDI is about the world's trust in you, in your future, in your leadership, in your opportunity, in your entrepreneurship, and your ability to partner with them and to deliver on their faith and trust in you. 162. And let me tell you, for 8 consecutive years from 2015, we set up a new FDI record for ourselves every year. Even in the midst of the lockdown in 2022, the most unprecedented lockdown in human history, you received your highest ever FDI of $83.5 billion. Highest ever. Let me tell you the second part of your FDI. It's come across 61 sectors, a global record. The breadth of opportunity which India presents today is unprecedented. No other country in the world has got an FDI across 61 sectors, and that number is increasing. Remember, I told you the most unprecedented transformation? It's just started. And let me tell you the third part to that, to me, which is the most gratifying. It's come in 31 states and union territories of India. The new engine of India, the new growth of India is bottom up. The new growth of India is inclusive. The new growth of India is not just the 7 big cities of this country, but every small little town, which for the first time in my history is a part of my entire growth process, where they can participate and they can partake from it. And let me tell you the other last part of my FDI. 93% of that number came in the open route. That means it did not require any special approvals. I remain one of the most open economies on the planet, with the private sector and the global partner having the ability to play a role and partner with me in each and every sector of my economy, be it defense or be it any other. Let me take you to a top block to that. I'm at GDP today of 3.5 trillion. Am I right, Zareen? Close to that number. Let me give you the story of my GDP. The first trillion took me 67 years. The second trillion took me 8 years. The third trillion took me 5 years. Are you seeing where I'm progressing? But let me tell you something more interesting. From 2015 until now, that is what? We are 9 years? I moved ahead of Russia, Italy, Brazil, France, UK, from number 10 to number 5 in size of my GDP. I'm knocking at Germany. By the end of this year or early next year, I become number 4. And before the pandemic, I was the fastest growing large economy on the planet. And after the pandemic, I am the fastest growing large economy on the planet. This story, ladies and gentlemen, has just begun. And let me tell you another interesting thing, and Stanley, you would like this one. 2/3 of my GDP is driven by domestic demand. That is what India's growth model is. Demand is ahead of supply, and market forces are the ones which are driving it. Now let me take you to the second pillar, which is the social pillar. 3 weeks ago, I became the largest human resource on the planet. You know that, right? Close to about 1.4 billion human resources. Let me tell you more interesting. 1 billion of those are under the age of 35. My average age is the same as my team at Invest India, 29. I'm the youngest on the planet all the way up to 2070. Just think about it. Now you're seeing what is propelling that engine of growth. And there's a BCG study that every Indian born in 2000 plus would spend about $240,000 in each their lifetime. Multiply that by 1.6 billion. That is what I will be on 15th August 2047. This is the size of my market. And guys, this has only just begun. And let me take you to my third pillar, which is politics. And you would agree with me that all these three work together when you talk about a huge manifestation of change which happens in any country. And remember, I was telling you about the circle of life. My last election, 2019, 960 million plus registered voters, of which close to 600 million actually cast their franchise. 1 million polling booths, repolling in just about 217 of them, only because of inclement weather. The largest celebration and the most complex exercise on the planet is executed to a sigma 6x. But let me tell you what is interesting in that part of my pillar. Of that 600 odd million, which actually cast their franchise, Zareen, close to 90 million of them were first-time voters. This first-time voter, and see the influence which the first-time voter can have on this one. This is aspirational India. Each one of them has the same desire, the same faith, the same ability, and the same aspiration as anyone in Singapore, London, New York. This is the generation which is driving this transformation, and this is the generation which has brought about a central change where good economics today is the center of good politics. That is driving this change. And let me end with the last point which I have to give to you. Every minute, 30 people are moving from a village to a city in India. Every minute. In the next 10 years, I will create a new United States of America. I need to give them housing, I need to give them infrastructure, I need to give them education, I need to give them water, I need to give them everything. This is the opportunity which I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, just 9,000 days from today, I'll turn 100. 15th August, 2047. I'm an ancient civilization, but I'm one of the youngest democracies on the planet. We often forget that. And on that day, 21% of the world's workforce will be in India. 20% of the world's middle class will be in India. This is the new India.